up, y'all? This is episode 33 of Two Jersey Kids. I am your esteemed host for this afternoon, evening. It's actually Friday when we're recording because we had scheduling issues, because that's how the real life works. I am the host, Adam Buckingham, alongside my best friend, the best stick handler in the business, Gary Seisel. How you doing today, Gary?
Doing excellent. I'm actually energized. It's an afternoon recording session.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
It's exciting. I was able to get off work somewhat early, so I was able to record this and get it out for all you folks out there.
It's like we're full-time podcasters right now.
Yeah, I know. And if you guys support us enough, you'll get this energy all the time when we become full-time podcasters. It'll be great. But, Gary, what have you been up to? By the way, before you start, you can follow us on Twitter at 2JerseyKids. And yeah, if you're a new listener, follow us throughout the whole thing and see if you like us, and then hit that subscribe button if we do tickle your fancy, you know, your little giblets or whatever. And if you're a continued listener, thank you so much for being here. Gary, don't give me that look. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to us. We really appreciate it. Now, Gary, what have you been up to?
Well, I'd say it's rather fortunate that we actually did this podcast today, because last night I wouldn't have really have had anything to talk about, but now I do, because coincidentally, since we didn't record last night around 11 o'clock, I got to raid in Destiny, everybody.
Ooh.
So I'm not going to go into excruciating detail, but I got to see, I will say, the extremes, both extremes of raiding. You have the incompetent fire team, and then you have the unbelievably well-oiled machine. We don't really talk that much, but we get the job done, fire team.
You were telling me before we started recording that you had this guy who thought he knew everything and was trying to give advice to everybody, but obviously didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, I mean, he did, but he knew what he was talking about, but he talked way too much, and he just tried. We were trying strategies that we shouldn't have been doing, considering it was just dumb. But see,
why did you take charge, Gary? You're a follower, not a leader, man.
Dude, in these raids, no. I do what I have to do, and then I leave. You
get the job done.
Yeah, whoever wants to lead the way, be my guest. I will take care of what I have to do. But it was amazing, though, because we started off, we had the incompetent fire team, and then after that we picked up two guys, one of which was from Northern Ireland. He was a real cool dude. Didn't really say too much, but just did the job, got it done, and we ended up blowing through like the last two stages of all the glass.
Did you plug the podcast at the end of your rating?
I wish I did. I
should do that. Now, every raid you go into, I want you at the end, when you're done, say, "Hey guys, you can find a podcast that I do called Two Jersey Kids. Maybe we'll get one of them."
That's true. I should have been like, "Hey guys, we've been actually recording this entire time, all the audio, everything you said has been recorded."
So if you don't subscribe or rate the podcast, we will release all this details about you and all the crazy shit you said. So watch yourself. That's what you should have said.
I could get a lot of people in trouble that way, I feel like. But yeah, it was a really good time, though. We got it done. Luckily, I have a lot of friends now that raid with me, so at least a lot of my real-life friends. So it's not you, of course. But you quit like a year ago, 2 years ago?
I don't know.
It's been a while.
When did Taken King come out?
I don't know. 2015? 2016?
Around then. I played it and then stopped.
Yeah, that's what I remember. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much to do after you beat the raid and everything. So at least if you weren't into the PvP aspect like I was. So anyway, that's enough about that. What have you been doing here? Really,
what I have been doing, what I have been playing, not much, really, unfortunately. I've been trying to. I haven't really got much into. I wanted to get back into Neo, but whenever I drift apart from a game, man, this sounds like a relationship. Whenever I drift apart from a game, it's hard for me to get back into the swing of things of a game or feel that same drive to complete the game. But I have been still playing Hearthstone. I've been really enjoying the expansion pack, expansion that they've added to the Year of the Mammoth. So I like the new decks that are out there. It's adding more variety, I think, to the meta right now. Who knows? It'll probably conduce to then a few more decks, because that seems like what happens, and Blizzard doesn't seem like they want to really address things right away. They wait until the expansions and then launch crazy cards to counteract the meta that's going on right now. Other than that, what have I been doing? I played some softball. My groins are killing me because I played 3 games yesterday. My groins are killing me. And that's about it, really. It hasn't been that too exciting of a week. It's kind of unfortunate. I did reach out to a developer. I forget the name of the developer, but I saw a Eurogamer article. Well, it's more of a video talking about 7 indie games you should watch coming in the future. This one called Soulbringer. It's coming out in summer sometime for the for PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and all of that jazz. And it looks really cool. Kind of looks like it looks a little procedural. Kind of has the same art style as Hyper Light Drifter did. Same sort of concept, I guess, going around and fighting bosses. Looks really cool. I reached out to them. Hopefully they'll get back to me. Maybe they'll give me a review copy. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it'd be nice. But other than that, it's been a really quiet week of what I've been doing. Nothing comes to mind. Maybe I'll think throughout the podcast. Oh, I did. Everybody can look forward to next Tuesday, though, but don't worry about it now because you're about to listen to this podcast. But next Tuesday, I did an interview with Ivan Kaltman. You can find him on Twitter at @wisedad_games about video games. Utilizing video games in education. Fucking fantastic interview, I think. I'm really proud of it. And it goes on for maybe 59 minutes. It's awesome. Ivan's awesome. He's very knowledgeable. I sat back and just let him talk and just interjected some things in there, what I'm good at, I guess. So look forward to that. But other than that, that's about it. So Gary, it's about time for your thing. You remembered again. Not
really.
It's back down to 0. But it is This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade. Not really.
Yep. Still doing that. Doing that. All right. So the first game on the list was actually per request from you. Was Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition coming out on Xbox back in 2005. Now, apparently you're a big fan of this game. Explain why.
Do I love this game. I think this game was developed by Rockstar, if I am correct. I really love this game, mainly because I had fond memories of it playing at my dad's place, if I can remember correctly. And I honestly loved street racing games when it came to Need for Speed Underground, and I feel like this was a step up. For me, personally, I felt like it controlled mechanically better, and also, I think there was an Xbox Live component where you could drive around in, like a somewhat of a city and do somewhat races, or you can just, like, open world drive around, which I thought was really cool. I think that it had some drag races and different types of races in it. It wasn't just straight up racing all the time, which offered a little variety to it, and I don't know. I love the car customization that was involved in this. There hasn't been too many, now that I think about it, there hasn't been too many street racing games in a long while, and I kind of miss it.
Yeah. I guess this qualifies as a street racing game. Was what Need for Speed Most Wanted. That was the only street racing game I've ever played. And that was a blast.
On 360?
A blast. Yeah. Was it? No, I think it was on Xbox too, right? Because I remember playing on the original Xbox,
Are you talking about Need for Speed Underground? Or Need for Speed?
Was it Underground?
Could have been Underground.
Which is the one that you had to, you're basically, working your way up. Your car gets just, destroyed or actually sabotaged in the very beginning.
That's Need for Speed Most Wanted, and that was for the 360.
So I was playing on the 360, really?
Yeah, that was probably when you first got the 360 before you got the Red Rings of Death.
Yeah, you're probably right. I probably just erased it from my memory, but yeah.
You are the one that stole my Need for Speed Most Wanted disc. We solved it. Ladies and gentlemen, we solved who stole my Need for Speed Most Wanted disc, because for some reason it was stolen. I most likely just traded it in, but I didn't remember. But I like to blame people that came to my house.
Yeah, like the maids, for example. Yep, he blamed the maids. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yes, I did. But I didn't yell at them. It was just an inside joke between me and Gary. All right, moving on in the games. What's next, Gary?
Well, we have Battlefield 2 Modern Combat coming out to Xbox 360 back in, the date's not there for some reason, but it was back
2006.
During this week. All right, 2006. Yeah, so I never actually played the original. I don't think I ever played actually any of the original Battlefield games. I did play Battlefield 2 Bad Company. I think that was the one, or Bad Company 2. I enjoyed it. I didn't really like the multiplayer as much back then, most likely because I didn't have friends that actually played with me. So it's kind of hard to do anything cohesive when you're playing by yourself. But I think my first real introduction to Battlefield was Battlefield 4, which I eventually played with actual people, and that was a good time. What do you got something to say here, Adam?
I personally love this game. I remember talking about it for when it came out on the Xbox, but I love this game so much that I bought it on the Xbox, and then I bought it on the 360 when I finally switched over, and it had the same basic mechanics that the Xbox team had, just looks prettier. I thought it was awesome. That's about all I can add to this discussion that I haven't already said about and sound redundant about modern combat.
Dynamite. All right,
Dynamite. Woo! I'm so fired up right now. I am so jazzed.
I can tell. I can feel the energy. Anyway, last but not least is the ever controversial Postal 2, released on Windows back in 2003. Obviously, this game was received differently by a lot of different people because of the unbelievably violent nature of this game.
And I'm sure the media picked it up and ran with it.
Absolutely. Well, interestingly enough, now granted, I found this on Wikipedia. By the way, I think Wikipedia is actually a pretty good source of knowledge, even though people always say that it's not.
I think that's only schools that say that. Me personally, I think Wikipedia is a good starting point if you want to learn more about a subject. If you want to go in the nitty gritty, obviously Wikipedia is not the best answer, but they do have a lot of citations at the end of Wikipedia articles, which help out a lot. I'd sidetrack. Wikipedia talk. But
interestingly enough, from what I'm reading here, scenes of this game can actually be found in the music video, a Black Eyed Peas music video, Where is the Love? And I actually really like that song, always have. But I actually never saw the music video.
Where is the love?
Yeah. And by the way, fun fact, Justin Timberlake actually sang in that song as like a back vocals.
Really?
And I remember that distinctly because I remember back at the
Gary dropping the musical knowledge on all y'all.
Well, I mean, the reason why I remember this because I've always been a Justin Timberlake fan, going way back. Well, no, because back then everyone's like, "Oh, dude, Justin Timberlake, nah, man, I hate that guy," because he was part of NSYNC, and of course, you couldn't like NSYNC back then either. But I remember he sang in that music video, and everybody never wanted to admit it. They're like, "Oh, no, it's a different Justin, dude." I'm like, nah, it's definitely Timberlake. Anyway, that's completely random and completely unrelated to Postal 2. So, anyway, let's move on to the actual news that we're here for today and that you're here for.
It's time to get into news for this week, and it's a lot of Nintendo-based news, so I'm sure Gary is excited.
Well, yeah, we can talk about the failures of Nintendo. Let's do it.
Damn! Our classic Nintendo hater that is Gary. Starting off! The first article this week. Gary, you taking the time? Nope, you're not. Starting off, NES Classic Edition has been discontinued. Allegra Frank over at Polygon writes, Nintendo is discontinuing the NES Classic, a plug-and-play console that became popular with collectors as soon as it launched last fall. A Nintendo representative confirmed that the last shipments of the NES Classic Editions will hit stores this month. Once that stock dries up, retailers will not receive any additional new consoles. Quote, throughout April, NOA territories will receive the last shipments of Nintendo Entertainment System NES Classic Edition systems for this year. We encourage anyone interested in obtaining this system to check with retail outlets regarding availability. We understand that it has been difficult for many consumers to find a system, and for that we apologize. We have paid close attention to consumer feedback, and we greatly appreciate the incredible level of consumer interest and support for this product. The ironic thing I would like to say, Gary, because I'm not reading from the article now, the ironic thing is that they are greatly appreciative of the support for the product, but yet they don't give enough product for the supporters.
Indeed. And that's the thing.
I want to continue before we get into discussing about it. Apparently this was the plan all along. According to Nintendo statement to IGN, quote, NES Classic Edition wasn't intended to be ongoing or a long-term project. However, due to high demand, we did add extra shipments to our original plans, end quote. And an update to the article, the Famicom Classic Edition, the Japanese version of the mini NES, has also ended production, yet Nintendo phrased this announcement in an interesting way on its Japanese website. Quote, this product has ended production for now. When production is being resumed, we will tell you on our website. So, Gary, fire away.
Well, no, I mean, okay, so they're discontinuing the console. That's, whatever. I don't think anyone ever expected this to be a continuing thing. Okay, but again, never could find it. I tried to buy it in the beginning. I, by the way, the Nintendo hater guy, tried to buy this console, or I guess sort of console.
Collector's item.
When it was released, and of course, couldn't find it on Amazon or anywhere else for that matter, so I kind of just gave up, lost interest. But yeah, it's funny that they're discontinuing it, and it's like, oh, well, we were never able to find it in the first place, so I guess we're fucked now. Can't play it.
It seems like, I don't know what it is about Nintendo. It seems like they're the type of people that kind of, those people that always like try to sell themselves down. Like, oh, I'm not that good, even though they are. Oh, I'm not going to be doing that well. They always try to sell themselves down. That's what seems like what happened with the NES Classic Edition. They thought to themselves, no, not too many people will buy this. No one's that interested in our old games. Guess what? A lot of people were.
Well,
at the time, but they didn't have enough of the product to sell to those people, which makes no sense. And now the last of the shipments, they finally they said, this is the last time you could possibly get it. It makes no sense.
Well, if I can remember correctly, I remember we were talking about this months ago, obviously, when it first came out, and we were saying that maybe, by releasing such little amounts of this console, if you want to call it that, they're driving up the demand because people are like, oh, I have to have this, I can't wait till they release it again. And then I think it had like the opposite effect. Like less and less people I think a lot of people lost interest, including myself.
Yeah, so because this is not like a new console. It was like a collector's item, and everyone at the time, I feel like the zeitgeist was that people were excited for it. And they're like, oh, this is really cool, getting this small thing, $60 to have like 30 games on it, 30 classic NES games. Why not?
And by the way, but you were saying before that you think they're selling themselves down. I think Nintendo knows exactly what they're doing, and I think this just completely backfired in every conceivable way. They know how much people love their old games. They know how much people love their old consoles. There's no reason that they should have done what they did with this whole thing. It was just a complete mess up on their part, and it completely backfired. They could have made absolute bank on this thing.
I'm trying to think. Do you think maybe this has to do now with the Switch being released, and maybe they want to release those old games now on the Switch to people?
Possible.
Maybe
Absolutely.
For their monthly subscription thing that they're trying to get across, where you get an old game for free for a month. That whole jazz.
It's definitely possible, and it'd also be kind of lame in a way. It's like, yeah, we have the same games now that you can subscribe to. Yeah.
God, just mentioning that, the fact that you only get that game for a month is kind of weird. I don't like that. It's like it doesn't conform with what PlayStation or Xbox does. Not saying you have to, but it seems like a step back from what PlayStation PlayStation and Xbox just give you those games if you have that subscription.
Yeah,
Gold
that's true.
Or PS Plus.
I guess it depends. I mean, I guess every month they're releasing new games. It'll be a different selection. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like when I play through a game, which is usually within a month, the likelihood of me going back.
I like having the option of having that game to come back to when there's a lull, and I know that there's games there that I can play that I haven't played, or I add it to the library and say, hey, I'm just going to check back to it, which happens on Xbox and PlayStation 4. But if you add this game from from whatever the service is called on Nintendo Switch, you have to play it in that month, and that feels like it sounds weird, but it seems like added pressure, I guess, to play the game so you don't lose it.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
And it's all old games. I think they're going to be releasing on that monthly thing, which would be cool to build up a library of old games, old Nintendo games. But we spent too much on that. Now moving on. There was a Nintendo Direct, Gary, if you did not know, and I think over at Victoria Woolston over at Wired.com sort of summed it up perfectly in like little parts that we can explain to all you beautiful listeners out there. More than a month since the Nintendo Switch went on sale, the firm has revealed its next wave of games and confirmed when previously announced titles will be getting release dates. The highlights from not last night's, but you know when, Nintendo's Direct event includes Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Minecraft, new Amiibos, and ARMS, a first-person fighting game that takes advantage of Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. Here's a recap, starting off with Splatoon 2. Nintendo has announced in January, 2 months before the Switch went on sale, that its flagship console would be getting Splatoon 2. And now we have a release date, July 21st. This game will come with a, quote, horde mode, end quote, in which you'll team up with friends to defeat enemies and collect eggs. There will also be three new Splatoon 2 related amiibos called Inkling Boy, Inkling Girl, and Squid. Obviously. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Mario will be coming to the Nintendo Switch on April 28th as a release of 2014's Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. Nintendo said Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will feature more tracks, characters, and carts available from launch than any previous Mario Kart version. ARMS, like Splatoon 2, ARMS was teased in January during Nintendo's Switch reveal event. It will be coming out on June 16th. Minecraft is also coming to the Nintendo Switch. It'll be similar to the Wii U version. It'll be coming out May 11th. I'm now conducing these because I don't want to read everything. There'll be a Zelda Amiibo for releasing in July 21st. So, exciting stuff. Moving on to the accessories. In addition to the games, Nintendo used last night's Nintendo Direct to announce new peripherals, including a battery grip accessory for its Joy-Con controllers to boost power on the go. And neon yellow Joy-Cons both go on sale from June 16th. Go on sale on June 16th, I'm guessing. Nintendo will also start selling the Switch dock as a standalone accessory in, quote, limited quantities, end quote, from starting May 19th. The Switch dock is the only official way to connect the console to a TV, so buying extra docks will allow you to move more easily between TVs across the house. So they give more list of everything that was announced. Another thing that I found interesting is that that wasn't mentioned in the article. They say that Payday 2, a 2013 game, is also coming to the Switch, which is kind of weird. It's a first-person game. It's actually kind of interesting that this type of game is coming to a Nintendo console. But again, it was the same issue with the Wii U ports, that they were coming way too late. But Gary, with all these new games coming out, do they excite you at all, or does it feel... I know it seems like they're releasing, so they have, Mario on April 28th, and then they have Minecraft coming out, and then they're going to have ARMS, and then Splatoon, or Split. Yeah. Does any of that excite you, or does that just feel like these are just baby Nintendo games, as you probably would call them?
Honestly, yes. Well, I just, I'm not really too excited about any of the games they announced. Mario's cool and all, but again, it's not really a game I'm going to run out and buy immediately and immediately start playing for hours on end. I haven't had really much experience with Splatoon, but I've seen a lot of people excited about it on Twitter. But yeah, it's not something that I'm really crazy about. But I saw down here in the accessories, you tweeted me the other day about the battery grip, or I think it was the fact that it was like extra battery life for the Joy-Con controllers.
Yeah.
But I mean, from what I'm reading, it seems a lot of people aren't having problems with the battery life. Apparently, they last a really long time. So I'm not really sure what the battery grip
Joy-Con
accessory.
Controllers?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm reading, at least from people, unless they're fanboys and they're lying. But I just thought that was interesting because you were saying
it's interesting that they're giving battery packs for the Joy-Con controllers themselves and not the console. Which I feel like that's the main issue that people have been having, is that it only lasts 3 hours, basically, if it's not being charged. Like playing Zelda Breath of the Wild, it only lasts like roughly 3 hours. So it's strange that they're giving more battery life to the Joy-Cons instead of the console.
Yeah, and apparently the controllers don't necessarily need it. So that is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, fascinating, Gary. Good look up. Talking about the Nintendo Direct, there was an interesting thing that apparently appeared on the Japanese Nintendo Direct, which I just wanted to include because it was kind of fascinating. It was over at Eurogamer. Tom Phillips writes, quote, well, not quote, but he writes, "Oh, and if you were watching it in Japan, if you were watching the Nintendo Direct in Japan, it also included a live-action skit where Nintendo Switch console's HD Rumble was shown simulating the feel of a pair of boobs. In a bizarre segue left out of the broadcast European and North American versions, Marvelous Entertainment announced a new Saren Kagura game for Nintendo Switch, which will once again feature the franchise's cast of short-skirted, large-breasted ninjas. The game was introduced with a single piece of concept art and only a working title. It seems like the game is still a while from release. Marvelous then discussed how the game would support HD Rumble. This aspect was illustrated by a pair of actors dressed as a lab coat scientist wielding slow motion shots of a wobbling dessert and a pair of water balloons. The game will apparently let you discover how the jiggling of an ample chest feels through the power of HD Rumble. Hopefully, it'll be more enjoyable than watching this bloke caress a couple of water-filled rubber orbs. Jesus Christ, Japan. What the fuck?
Only in Japan. Only in Japan. That's all I gotta say. There's really nothing to say about something like that. It's such a, when I saw this,
it's such a Japan, it's like hashtag Japan. It is such a Japan thing. I don't know, their fascination with this, it's crazy. I don't understand it.
When I saw you include this in the Google Docs for this episode, I was like, I don't really know. I know I'm not even going to really say anything about this sort of thing, but fuck it. Let's just talk about it anyway.
Makes no sense. Moving on. Over at GameRevolution.com, Jonathan Leake writes, the NPD group, PS4, coming from the NPD group, PS4 outsells Xbox One during March 2017, while Switch takes top spot. The NPD group published its results for March 2017 today, including sales reports regarding console hardware in North America. It was confirmed that the PS4 outsold the Xbox One during the month of March. This marks the 5th month in a row that PS4 has led the Xbox One in sales within the territory. The last victory for Microsoft was last October. However, the top-selling game brand was Nintendo with its newly released Switch. The new generation console is confirmed to have sold more than 500,000 units in North America alone during its first week on the market, and had more to show for it in subsequent weeks, with the monthly total being over 906,000 units. Demand has outpaced both expectation and supply at a level that surpassed the record-selling Wii during the same length of time post-launch, surprising Nintendo and analysts alike. So far, only Microsoft has come out with a public statement regarding the results. Xbox Corporate Vice President of Marketing Mike Nicholas shared the following, quote, this past quarter from January to March 2017, we saw Xbox Live engagement with 1.1 billion multiplayer hours logged globally, a 14% increase year over year. Looking ahead, we are excited to share more about our plans for Xbox One, including launching the world's most powerful console, Project Scorpio, alongside an amazing lineup of new Xbox One games. We are thrilled with the incredible response we have received to date for Project Scorpio and look forward to sharing more about the Xbox One family of devices in the coming months. No comment about from Sony or Nintendo. Gary, does this hurt that Nintendo has outsold PlayStation and Xbox One? Does this hurt your hatred for Nintendo? Does this hurt your feelings?
I mean, if anything, it's expected. I mean, it's a newer console. It's going to sell more. I just hope you like Zelda. That's all. I mean, if you buy the console, I just hope you like Zelda. It's the only game worth playing currently. So, yeah, have fun with that.
It makes sense that, I mean, the Switch would outsell them because this is the first month, I think. This is the first month. It released on the 3rd, if I'm correct. So, it makes sense that this is the first month that it would outsell the PS4 and Xbox One due to the fact that it is a new console and people are hyped about it. It does go to show, since it's breaking the Wii numbers right now, which is a good sign. Let's hope they can keep it and not do what happened with the Wii U, where it had a horrible end life to it, where it just sort of started off pretty solidly and then just fell off a cliff. Let's hope that they can sort of provide for the players that are going to be on it and, continue selling. It kind of goes to show that Nintendo, when you treat gamers like actual adults and not like kiddie people, like with a Fisher Price toy that was the Wii U, that people will come and support the console if it looks sleek and it runs the games solidly and what we expect from games nowadays.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of to feed into that point, the thing about the Switch is that it appeals to a bigger audience of gamers, I feel, that it wasn't maybe the case with the Wii or the Wii U, where they were kind of going for more like that family kind of console where you can sit around with like your family and play bowling and shit like that. I think that the Switch kind of appeals to more of a gaming audience, which obviously is now showing in its sales numbers, which have obviously been improved and are obviously record-setting in this case.
Not gonna lie, Gary, I've been toying with the idea of getting a Switch because I have an Xbox One that I do not use at all.
Hey, look, honestly, if I had the money, I would own all consoles. That's the thing.
That's true. I've been debating on it. I've been waffling back and forth. And from what I hear, there was a leak, which I don't think I included. There was a leak that there was going to be a bundle for the Nintendo Switch and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So I may be waiting for that to get the bundle so I can trade in the Xbox One, because I'm sorry to say it, I really don't use it that much because I play the third-party games on PS4. The first-party games now for PS4 have interested me more than Xbox One. I'm not really... It's sad to say, Halo, coming from 343 Studios now, doesn't really get me hyped. Doesn't really, get the blood pumping, so to speak. And Gears of War, the most recent iteration, I was bored in the first few hours because I was not a fan of the story intrigued me slightly, but I was not fan. It didn't feel like Gears of War because it's a new team that's creating Gears of War 2, and it doesn't feel like the Xbox games that I came to love. And PS4 sort of PlayStation brought me in with their indie titles from the PS3 era and their exclusives like Horizon, Uncharted, Bloodborne, Last of Us, some more single player focused games that sort of, now me getting older and not wanting to play multiplayer as much, sort of gravitated towards that realm, which seems like PlayStation has a good grip on the first-party single-player experiences, so to speak.
Couldn't agree more. Although I still waiting for KOTOR to come out to Xbox. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant.
Moving on. Moving on. I don't think we really need to go into that reading the article, but apparently the Star Wars Battlefront 2's first trailer leaked. And Gary, since you are a Star Wars fan, I would just let you take it away, my man. What did you think of it?
I thought the trailer was awesome. It's been a couple days since I've seen it, so I can't remember everything that happened in it, but the game looks great as always. But the things that I took out of it, or at least the questions that I still have, is I think that this is kind of like a make or break point for Battlefront. I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but obviously the last game was kind of like a shell of what it could have been. There was a lot of I think they missed the mark on a lot of things, a lot of missed potential. And I just feel like this game, it's going to be a make or break in a way, because I think they need to kind of now decide where they're going to be. Like, what game is it going to be? Is it going to be like an all-around game with like a solid multiplayer and then a good multiplayer as well? Or is it going to be just kind of the same thing as before, where like the single player kind of like just isn't that well? I guess they didn't have a single player, so I can't compare it to the original Battlefront. But is this single player going to be good enough, and is the multiplayer also going to be interesting enough to keep you coming back and keep you playing it? Because the multiplayer in the original Battlefront for what was it, PS4 really wasn't that good either. So I just think it's a make or break point for the game. It could be, they could really, hit it out of the park. It could be a great game, or it could just kind of fall flat again and be average.
But the thing is, make or break makes it sound like it's going to fail. It's not going to fail, especially sales-wise. They're going to make a puss load of money, and critically it may fail, but I really don't think EA cares about the bottom line. I know they want to make a good game, but if it sells well, then they're going to be making another one.
That's true, but I just think that, that's great.
I want to get your thoughts on what I was seeing online. Was actually some people were actually coming to the defense of the original Battlefront game, where they're talking about now they get upset that they're going to just put in this single player game, or not many people are going to be wanting to play it. What's the point of that? This is shocking to me because I'm more of interested in the single player campaign, and now this is coming from the other side of the argument where I'm like, whoa, did not expect somebody to be saying that.
It depends on the situation. I mean, if they make if they make a solid single player, that's interesting. I don't see how it could possibly go wrong. I mean, if you enjoy that, if you enjoy a single player and you can play it and it's worthwhile, then what's the problem? Now, on the other hand, if they focus on the single player too much and the multiplayer sucks, then that's a different story. I don't have a problem with it, though. I mean, I like multiplayer games. I like competitive shooters and stuff like that. So if they have a single player, that's good, and I can still play multiplayer and have fun. I don't see what's wrong with that at all. Now that I'm sort of jogging my memory here, but I remember in the trailer they actually showed off a lot of characters, like Kylo Ren, Rey, Darth Maul was in there.
Spanning different eras. Darth Maul, my man! Yep.
And it looked sick. I mean, the game, seriously, it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen, honestly. I'm really hoping they get it right this time, because there needs to be a good Star Wars game out there. It's inexcusable that there isn't, and it has to happen.
It's called KOTOR 1 and 2, obviously, Gary.
Well, it's like, yeah.
You mean a new, an actual new good Star Wars game?
Exactly.
Single player experience, I guess. But what excites me, though, it sounds like the single player aspect will be taking place after, from what I'm hearing, after the fall of the Empire, or like the Endor battle that took place in Return of the Jedi, which I'm really excited about, because I'm interested to see how they go from one section of defeating the Death Star a second time to where they ended up with the Force Awakens. I'm kind of interested to see the middle ground, like what did they do that sort of changed Rebels becoming the Resistance, the Empire. What's the name of the Empire now in Force Awakens? I can't remember.
The First Order.
First Order. How did the Empire shift over to the First Order? I'm fascinated to see how that all plays out. I'm honestly kind of curious. I don't know if we'll ever get the complete answers, but it'll be interesting. It's interesting.
I think it's cool because it's kind of like it's like a Rogue One kind of type of thing where you see what happens kind of like behind the scenes that you weren't previously told about. So it's like, with Rogue One, you found out how they got knowledge to destroy the Death Star. And then in this, hopefully with this single player campaign, you find out what happens in between episodes 6 and 7. So
we probably won't learn everything. I'm sure Disney would want to fill in the holes there eventually with a movie, just because it'll make money.
Yep. A shit ton of money. I'll be spending my money most likely to watch it. So
for sure, it's Star Wars. Everyone will be little puppets. Disney just releases every Star Wars movie. Everyone dances like little puppets to go watch it.
Well,
coming from the person that's about to go watch Fate of the Furious.
Yeah.
Those movies are so dumb yet so awesome. Moving on, Microsoft scrapped plans to launch beefier Xbox console last year. Tom Phillips over at Eurogamer writes, Microsoft at one point planned to launch a beefed-up Xbox console in 2016, but ended up scrapping the project. Development resources were later folded into Project Scorpio, Xbox boss Phil Spencer told Gamasutra. The canned console project sounds like it would have increased the power of the standard Xbox One, something last year's Xbox One S did not do in any meaningful way. But Spencer called time on the project after it became clear the console would not offer enough of an upgrade at an attractive price point. Quote, we designed a console for 2016 and a console for 2017. We were kind of working on both plans simultaneously. At some point, we said, I think we need to do more than what the silicon is that's available in 2016 at a price point that a console customer would want to play. End quote. So that's not end quote. Oh, Jesus, I fucked up. Move it. I'm just gonna keep going. So that's when we stopped that effort. We said, okay, we're going to put all our weight and execution capability of the hardware team behind delivering a high-powered console in 2017. That's completely geared towards 4K. End quote. Spencer doesn't say it as. Jesus Christ, Gary, I'm struggling through this article. Spencer doesn't say it in as many words. Jesus, could that have been more wordy? But Scorpio sounds like the first project to launch from Xbox, which Spencer himself will have been captain of from the start. Quote, the ideas behind the S were in flight slightly, he remarked, when talking of the slimmer Xbox One when launched last year. In other words, plans for the inevitable revision originated from the much-maligned Don Matrix era. For Scorpio, Spencer wanted a key concept. 1080p, 30 frames per second, Xbox One games running at 4K, 30 frames per second. Scorpio. It was a version from Spencer which ultimately ended the 2016 console. So basically, in the end, I'm tired of reading this article. Fuck this article. It screwed me up. I'm done with it. What do you think, Gary, of what the article is?
Well, honestly, I guess it worked out, but they got what they wanted. Scorpio is obviously going to be a damn good console in terms of the power that it has, and it's going to be, again, like they say, the most powerful console in the market.
Unlimited power!
Thank you, Sidious.
Star Wars.
But I don't know. Like I said before, I don't want to keep beating this to death, but I don't understand this mid-generation console shit. I don't really like it.
But
I'm not going to buy one.
It looks like an actual console. It's not I feel like it's more of a step up that it's a new console than a half step that the PS4 Pro is.
Yeah,
the
where are we
PS4 Pro seems more like the mid-generation, just upgraded version that you are upset about. The Scorpio feels like a new console.
But that's not really the point. That's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's just the mid-generation step. I'm not saying it's a half-baked, like, we're putting like a better hard drive or, whatever. I'm just saying it's mid-generation. Like, we're right in the middle of, basically the PS4 comes out, and now we're kind of like halfway through its like life cycle, I guess, at this point. And all of a sudden, like with Xbox 2, you're kind of just like, where are we now? Are we in a new generation of consoles now? Is like PS4 now thinking of something else that they're going to release? I don't really like it. I don't know. It's just me personally.
We will see how this all plays out. I'm sure the Scorpio will sell well. It's going to be really fascinating to see how comparison the Switch sells relative to the Scorpio. And then, do you think Sony will mention anything about a new console in the upcoming E3? Do you think that's in the cards at all, or do you think I honestly don't know where Sony goes from here.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to say. I mean, I'm sure they're definitely looking at this and thinking that they're going to have to respond in some sort of meaningful way, especially because the PS4 Pro is, compared to the Scorpio, it's a joke. So we'll see. We'll see what the response is. Yeah, we'll see what the response is. I am interested to see that. But
I feel like they have to mention something now, or they have to, because now they're going to be so far behind. I feel like, not that it's a bad thing, but it seems like at the start of the generation, you always saw the comparison between PS4 and Xbox One. You always had that comparison, and the PS4 always ran at like 1080p, and the Xbox was like 900p, and it looked slightly better. I mean, I had a hard time telling, but some people said it looked better. But now it's going to be drastically different, the PS4 Pro to the Scorpio. You comparing the two, I feel like now you're going to say you're basically competing for third-party support. Where are you going to take those gamers? Are they going to go to the Scorpio to play the third-party games where they look pretty and run better, or are they going to stick with the PS4 or PS4 Pro? I feel like if it makes sense that they'll move over to the Scorpio, but I don't know how fickle gamers are.
I feel like a lot of people are like us, though, or at least me, where you have a PS4, you're able to play the same games that they're able to play on the Scorpio. It's like, what's the point of spending now extra cash to buy like the upgraded console? I don't know.
Because it sounds like from the report last week, it sounds like it could be really beefy, and the fact that you could quote unquote run like ultra settings of like PC
I heard
game.
The performance is better, but it's at the same time. That's good. The performance is actually, obviously a huge part of it, but I just don't.
I'm fascinated to see what the price point of this game or what this console is going to be, for how beefy that it's going to be, and how well it's supposed to run these games. I'm fascinated to see if it's going to be more higher price point, and will that only attract the hardcore Xbox fans, or will it be a lower price point that attracts more just everybody, like a new console would. But moving on, there's information, Gary, if you saw, about Uncharted: The Lost Legacy that's coming out apparently August 22nd, which I feel like is a fantastic time for the standalone DLC type thing of the Uncharted franchise to come out. I feel like It's normally at the end of the summer lull before the fall, like just straight up sprint of new games like the Battlefield or Battlefront, Call of Duties, that whole thing. It's priced at $40. From what I'm hearing from reports, it's supposed to be like an 8 to 10 hour experience, which I feel like $40 is a pretty solid price point for a single player experience. That's 8 to 10 hours. Naughty Dog is always up to the task of delivering these single-player experiences. I'm sure they'll make you care about the characters. I know you have some reservations about these two characters, but I feel like the Naughty Dog knows what they're doing with these characters. They know how to get the most out of them, and I'm excited for it. I was really fascinated to hear, though, I watched on the PlayStation YouTube channel, they had an interview with Neil Druckmann and Herman Hulst. Neil Druckmann, I'm sure you know, is like the director behind like Last of Us, Uncharted 4, Uncharted 1, I believe, or I forget which Uncharted, but what he's saying, he's actually not completely directing this game. Period. He's kind of giving mentorship to the people directing this at Naughty Dog, and they're taking the reins, which is kind of interesting. Now it's going to be somewhat slightly different. New people directing it. He's giving somewhat like guidance on what to do production wise, but they're going to be artistically directing, which is exciting. Naughty Dog trying to build up more people. I guess that can so Neil Druckmann doesn't have to shoulder the load all the time with these games coming out of Naughty Dog.
I mean, I don't see how much different it's actually going to be. I mean, I feel like it's still a lot of the same people are going to be working on the game, so you'll still get that same vibe. But I mean, going back to what you were saying originally, I am really excited about the $40 price point. I think that if they actually were charging $60, it would kind of piss a lot of people off, kind of including myself, considering that it's not going to be like the full version of Uncharted, so to speak. But like you said, I'm not entirely sold on Chloe and Nadine as the lead characters, but it is Naughty Dog, and they always seem to get it right, so I'm going to trust them. I will be picking this game up when it drops, but apparently you had some digital pre-order details. I'm not sure if you want to go into that more, but I'm not going to pre-order the game, but I will be picking it up when it releases, though.
I thought it was really fascinating on the PSN site. If you pre-order it, you receive... obviously, a normal like a Lost Legacy theme, which I'm not. But then, if you'll receive a digital copy of Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy for the PS4 system on launch day, which is kind of cool because I think the Precursor Legacy will include 1, 2, and 3, which is kind of awesome, especially if they are good version. Well, it's basically a free bunch of games, old Naughty Dog games, so paying homage to their roots. People can check them out too if they're interested in this legacy. They can check out now Jak and Daxter games to see where they came from. Speaking of Jak and Daxter, there was actually really something when I discussed that YouTube video with Neil Druckmann and Herman Hulst of Horizon. They're talking about their development cycle, about how they sort of had two ideas. The Horizon team, Guerrilla, had two ideas of what going in. Their first idea was somewhat more like The Order and that type of universe, but open, I think, more linear based, and like a superhero set in that Victorian steampunk era world, which I think would be fascinating to see where they would take that. But, I mean, I'm glad they stuck with Horizon. Another fascinating thing is that Neil Druckmann stated that when they were working on Uncharted, or not working on Uncharted, before Uncharted, when they were pitching ideas, they kind of came around to like the steampunk open world idea that I guess seems like floating around PlayStation before they transitioned to Uncharted, the more realistic style. But I was stating that in my mind, it kind of made sense because Jak and Daxter, towards the end of it, sort of switched, kind of got a little steampunky with like basically the world that you would walk around, the open world in Jak and Daxter. So, I mean, it kind of made sense to transition from a cartoony open world game of Jak and Daxter that's somewhat steampunky to a realistic looking one. But it obviously worked out in Naughty Dog's favor to go full realistic with Uncharted Pulp Fiction style action. But yeah, that makes sense. I gotta pull up the next article because I forgot to click it. My bad. Moving on. Remedy's next game will be on PS4 too. By two, it means TOO, so also. Jeffrey Matlouf over at Eurogamer writes, Quantum Break and Alan Wake developer Remedy Entertainment will release its next game on PlayStation 4. In a blog post, quote, Remedy is also working on a game project codenamed P4, or P7. The company's strategy is to release the game on a wider range of platforms, which is why Remedy is developing its Northlight technology also for PlayStation 4 consoles, end quote, the studio stated. This marks a big shift for Remedy, which hasn't released a console game outside of Microsoft's stable since 2003's Max Payne 2, the Fall of Max Payne. That's really fascinating, Gary, that I don't know if I don't know if like a contract situation sort of end up with Microsoft or PlayStation wiggled their way in between the two and sort of pulled them over, so now it will be a split. Or do you see maybe Remedy is like thinking, let's not just put it on one console, let's just put it out there for everyone to play?
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I mean, I feel like a lot of games now are kind of being released on both consoles. Like, I mean, there are exclusives, obviously, but like, I mean, are they so what are they releasing? What the hell are they releasing? All right, they're just going for a different game. Never mind.
Yeah, new game.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like now I think it's more beneficial if you release on both consoles. You just hit both markets as opposed to being exclusive to a console. Of course, a lot of consoles will pay top dollar, obviously, to exclusively produce a game on their console. So, but I still feel like you get better sales on both. Yeah, personally, it
makes sense. I mean, you saw what happened with the original Titanfall. It sold pretty decently on the exclusive console, and then you saw what happened with Tomb Raider, the exclusive or timed exclusive for Xbox One, where it didn't sell all too great. And then it came out a year later on PlayStation 4. Sort of, it didn't really recuperate what it would have done on the original launch day, which was like a year prior to Uncharted. But then when it came out on PS4, it was around the same time frame, same year, which is kind of unfortunate for PlayStation owners, I guess you could say. But Gary, we're going to move on. But can you do me a favor and read this next article?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Let me open it up right now, actually. So,
there we go.
On an article from Kotaku by Jason Schreller, Microsoft tests Steam-style refunds for Xbox One. Now, Adam actually brought up this idea last week in a really strange, like psychic sort of thing going on here. But anyway, this article reads,
Nostradamus.
This article reads, Microsoft is testing out a digital refund service on Xbox One, although it's currently only available to alpha testers and might not make it to the public. If the service does go wide, Xbox One players will be able to return games that are less than 2 weeks old and that they've played for less than 2 hours, just like Steam users can. The news first popped up thanks to members of the Xbox Insider program posting on Reddit. Microsoft says that they're simply testing out the service using that Insider program and have nothing further to share in regard to if and when this will be open to the public. Now, this is Microsoft's full statement to the press, which is actually rather brief. We're always looking for new ways to improve the customer experience and regularly release new features into the Insider program to encourage and foster fan feedback, which helps us test and refine features before they reach general availability. Earlier today, we enabled self-serve refund pilot testing for digital content via the Xbox and Windows Insider programs, and this testing is presently limited to select Insider members. Insiders can learn more about the criteria for claiming digital refunds via the Insider Hub. Beyond that, we have nothing further to share. Adam, your thoughts?
My thoughts. I feel like this is an interesting step from Microsoft, now offering the availability to refund games digitally. It's like a step towards what Steam is doing, which sort of makes sense. It's sort of they're taking the first step in the console space, so I guess PlayStation will be behind in this aspect. But that's not the main thing that I care about. It moves on my conspiracy theory when it comes to the Project Scorpio, Gary. The fact that Steam was in this article related to Xbox. Bingo bango, we're going to have the Steam Xbox. I'm calling it right now. I'm calling for the 500 shot to center field because it's so outlandish that it's possible.
Well, can I just say this too? I'm reading the comments, and I agree with this one guy. He says that it's your move, Sony. And I completely agree because I feel like Sony now has been like kind of just drifting aimlessly, kind of just sitting there, just collecting their money, sitting on what they did in the beginning. And they're not really innovating or providing anything new. But I feel like Microsoft has been just like taking these gigantic steps forward and improving their brand ever since they had that rough start.
Because
I guess
that's what happened with the PS3. Sony was behind.
Yeah, I guess
and
they
Sony had to
yeah.
innovate, like with PlayStation Plus offering free games a month. Xbox finally caught up to that this generation. It seemed like this is what happens when you're fighting from behind. You have to innovate. Sony is still selling, the fifth month in a row they outsold Xbox again?
Yeah, I mean...
So they're doing well. They're providing good first-party games. What Xbox needs to do, if they want to... they can keep doing, like, Xbox Game Pass. Good idea. I think that's brilliant. Beats PS Now. This selling back copies, brilliant. Beating PS4. But what they need to do is develop first-party games that are innovated and new for their fan base. It seems like what you're saying with Nintendo you're not a fan of is because they keep iterating like Mario, Zelda, all the same thing. That's what you're seeing with Xbox nowadays. You have what? Halo 6 is going to come out next. Then you're going to have Gears of War 5 coming out next. And then what? You have Crackdown 3?
It's definitely true. Yeah.
I mean, you have, I don't want to sound like I'm sucking Sony's dick, but I kind of am. But you have Sony coming out with a Bloodborne, then Horizon, you have Neo, you have Nier Automata. They have so many exclusive games for the PS4, it brings people to the fan base, or to the console itself, because they want to play these exclusives, and they'll play third party with either one, but the thing that matters is that they are bringing people to the PS4, and they see these are the games that they want to play exclusively. Why buy an Xbox One to play third-party games when I can just play on my PS4? I mean, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes complete sense. No, it's true. I mean, I don't know about you. I know you were saying earlier that Halo doesn't really, like, tickle your fancy anymore, but
nope, I guess giblets at all.
I feel the same exact way. But I mean, that's a different discussion. But yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, Bungie.
You keep taking the words right out of my mouth. Like I keep trying to make points, but you make the point before I make the point. You're stealing my goddamn thunder.
That's what I'm good for. I mean, normally I read the articles and I let you talk, and you steal my points all the time. So
that's
just
true.
Switching it up. Moving on. I'm going to read this one, Gary. Moving on. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds sells 1 million copies after 2 weeks in early access. Jeffrey Matuluf over Eurogamer writes, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has sold 1 million copies on Steam Early Access. It's not like the title just said that. Developer Blue Hole Studio has announced. That's very impressive for a relatively small budget game that's only been available for 16 days and is still in beta. Even more impressive is that the game came from humble beginnings. The titular PlayerUnknown, whose real name is Brendan Green, built up a reputation through making free mods. Oft-cited as the creator of the Battle Royale genre, named for a feature film. Green first entered the scene making a competitive survival mod for DayZ, which was in of itself a mod of Arma 2. Green then made a similar mod for Arma 3 before collaborating with Daybreak Studios to add a, quote, King of the Kill, quote, end quote, mode to H1Z1. Oh, I did not know that. This makes PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds Green's debut directing a standalone commercial project. Impressively, PlayerUnknown's Battleground has only been in development for less than a year. Green and his South Korean studio, Bluehole, have been burning in the midnight oil on this one. And at this rate, Green suspects Battlegrounds will be ready for an official 1.0 launch in the next 6 months. The success seems to be well-deserved too, as our resident survivalist Ian Higton suggests PlayerUnknown's Battleground may be the greatest Battle Royale game yet. And I mentioned in the last episode, I watched people playing this. Giant Bomb was playing this, and I've watched people play King of the Kill, and I've watched people play PlayerUnknown's Battleground. PlayerUnknown's Battleground seems more realistic, I guess you could say. H1Z1 is more arcade style gameplay. Me, personally, I kind of like the PlayerUnknown's Battleground because it looks more polished. Seems like it provides more action, more things available. Looks smoother, I guess you could say. And I'm really fascinated to see where they take this from beta to now launch. What will they add to it? Will it just be the same map over and over? Will they add different weapons? I'm kind of fascinated to see how these compete with King of the Kill, and will that studio, H1Z1 studio, I forget what the Daybreaks breaks. What they do to innovate King of the Kill and see if competition can bring out the best battle royale game there is. It would be kind of cool. And it's also, this fucking guy just loves battle royale games and keeps just it seems like shitting them out. It seems like.
Yeah, I think. I mean, personally, I haven't seen much of Battlegrounds. I feel like it's like a love or hate thing from I'm seeing it from a lot of people. It's like you either really love H1Z1 or you don't like Battlegrounds because it's like apparently too slow to some people. But I watched a little bit of Battlegrounds, and it's like, it just seems a lot more tactical, at least from what I'm seeing. And now, granted, I'm watching a streamer, so he's probably better than 95% of the people in the game. But yeah, I do agree it looks better. The thing that I took out of the article personally that I think is really cool is the fact that this guy, Brendan Green, who's obviously the developer of the game, basically came from nowhere. Like I said, he was developing free mods for a while, and now he's selling 1 million copies of a game that he made. I think that's really an awesome story. It just shows you that if you work hard enough and you really want something, you can do it. It just takes the commitment. So,
yeah, good on him for doing that. It's pretty cool. Moving on. PlayStation Vue is getting a dedicated esports channel. Mike Minotti over at VentureBeat. Sorry. PlayStation Vue is about to get a 24/7 esports content. The Electronic Sports League, ESL, announced today that its esports TV is coming to Sony's TV streaming service later this month. Esports is on pace to reach $696 million in revenue this year, which is insane, without including spending from fantasy esports or gambling, according to the industry intelligence group Newzoo. This channel could help the market grow and reach a larger audience. Esports TV launched in Europe last year, reaching 5 million households, but this is the first time it'll air in the US market. Vue is available on PlayStation 4, Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, mobile, and other platforms. Many watch esports events as they're streamed live on sites like Twitch, but traditional TV channels like TBS and ESPN have aired professional gaming as well. ESL is the largest blah, 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 blah. Gary, are you excited for this 24/7 esports experience?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it. I really like watching Twitch streams and stuff like that. I like watching people play video games. Sometimes I'm really not in the mood to sit in front of a console and play, so I'll watch someone else do it for me and live through them as if, But yeah, I mean, I look forward to watching this more often, I guess. I'll be, of course, jealous of the people winning money, making money that I'm not making by playing video games, but it's going to be cool. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, lucky them for making money, doing something that we love to do. But I would love to I'm sure people will get upset when we become just super famous and making a buttload of money being video game personalities, because that'll happen.
Jersey Kid,
we're
Two
fucking
Jersey
great.
2 Jersey Kids, a global brand, baby.
Yeah,
taking over the world.
That reminds me, you can follow us on on Twitter at 2 Jersey Kids, and yeah. So I think that's really it. That kind of that article reminded me that I do want to do I wanted to reach out to somebody that's I've actually found somebody that I want to reach out to that's knowledgeable in the esports community, I guess you could say, who's knowledgeable on esports in general. I guess was there from somewhat the beginning, and I really want to sit down and do an interview with them, just talking about esports in general and their progression. I feel like that would be really fascinating, and it'll be another episode, Gary, that you don't have to think of a topic for, which would be I'm sure you'll be happy.
Well, for the record, I actually have been thinking of topics. I have like 5 right now made up for future shows, so I'm pretty pumped to to unveil them over time.
And but other than that, Gary, do you want to say anything before we go?
Nothing much. I mean, I know what next week was. On our Tuesday episode, you won't be hearing from me because it's actually the interview episode that Adam did with Ivan Kaltman. So I'll be seeing you guys actually again next week on our Friday episode. So I'll see you guys then. It's been a pleasure.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us that whole episode. We were a little pumped up. I got a little I feel like I slowed down because I didn't get much sleep last night because Marta was traveling. My girlfriend was traveling away, and I got a little, me being me. I'm a great boyfriend, so I got a little worried, so I kept waking up in the middle of the night to make sure she was okay. And so I sort of slowed down, so I apologize for that. But we are Two Jersey Kids. We are a video game podcast. We appreciate all our fans out there. And if you're a new listener, please, if you stayed with us and you like what you hear, please subscribe. We're going to try our best to keep getting better at this. I think we're pretty decent. I think we're okay. And if you're a continued listener or a new listener and you want to do us a huge favor, please go rate us on iTunes. It would help out so much. You don't even know how much it would help out. We can, get more viewership if we have more ratings, and we can build a community together and be a nice, healthy family who probably will argue in the future and then throw plates at each other. But at the end of the day, we will love each other. That's how family works. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Again, we release episodes every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you on Tuesday. Look forward to that conversation I have with Ivan Kaltman. I'm pretty proud of what transpired between the two of us. Well, it's mostly him because he talked most of the time because he's very knowledgeable on education and video games. So thank you so much for being here. Gary, say bye.
Adios.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.